Front Row Hustle. First of all, tell us the story of how you learnt that you were living with a hearing impairment.
Yeah, thanks Jacinta for having me on board. I'm excited. Um, yeah, so I was born with my hearing impairment genetics from my dad, and I guess I got picked up when I was 2 years old. Mum and dad found out, yeah, when I was two, and then they got me hearing aids, and then I guess being that young age, you don't really know any different, so I just kind of went about it. But then once I reached my, I guess, teenage years and at high school, I definitely noticed it a bit more, like probably being a bit different at school and things like that. So that's probably more when I sort of noticed it more so than when I was younger. You don't know any different type thing. So yeah, but then you learn that it makes you a like who you are as a person and that type of thing. So yeah, I would say more so when I was in high school, I more noticed it more than my younger years. Yeah.
Do you remember much about what some of the signs were that your parents noticed that you may be living with a hearing impairment at such a young age?
I no, not really. I have heard a few stories of like when I was younger, of different things that had happened. Like my sister, who's 2 years older than me, is also hard of hearing, and we both got picked up at the same time. But she was four and I was two, so they do sort of say like how we both got picked up at the same time, but because she was that little bit older and had gone 4 years without proper hearing, so that affected her speech a little bit and also mine as well. Um, but I don't necessarily all I would remember is like going to swimming lessons and having to take out my hearing aids before jumping in the pool, or going to swimming lessons and not hearing anyone in the car because I didn't have my hearing aids in, or um, because that's like really the only time that you take them out, especially or even at like nighttime. We take them out when going to sleep, obviously, and then like when we have showers or bath when you were younger. So those would really only be the times that I necessarily remember. But yeah.
And I imagine there'll be a lot of people listening to our podcast, and also for me as well, would love to learn a little bit more what it's like in everyday life living with a hearing impairment. So, are you able to describe, if you're comfortable to do so, how a hearing impairment primarily affects your everyday life?
Yeah, sure. So for me, with my hearing devices in, it doesn't really affect me too much. Um, like I guess again, growing up, the only time it would have affected me was, like you would when you obviously in your high school teenage years, you become insecure about different things. So definitely would have affected me in that terms. But now in my everyday life, really the only time it would affect me if my hearing aid batteries went flat and I didn't have any hearing aid batteries with me. So if I'm like at work or something and I don't have spare hearing aid batteries, then it'll affect me hugely because without them, or just even without one, it can become quite frustrating not being able to hear, or not being able to hear what's going on, what conversations are being had. Yeah, so right now that would be like the really only, I guess, ways that it would affect me, because there's so much like awesome technology at the moment which has helped make sure, I guess, my hearing is at the same level as everyone else without a hearing impairment. So right now, that'd be like the only way it would affect me. But when I was younger, more so that insecurity of it, and you sort of start to realize you're a bit different to other people. But then once you overcome that barrier and build that resilience a little bit, you realize like that it makes you who you are. Yeah.
That sounds really cool. Very inspirational. I hope there's some other young ballers out there living with a hearing impairment that can somehow hear that message from you. Have you ever had any opportunity to work with some younger people as well, who are also into sport and living with a hearing impairment to help? Do you share your kind of story with them?
Yeah, well, not a whole lot, but at my local club, Hills Hornets, they run a all abilities program, and I've done a couple times, gone down there and coached for them, and they'll often have kids with hearing impairments come in, and you sort of like have that soft spot for them, and so you do try and bond with them a little bit over that. But I haven't really had too much of an opportunity type thing to work with younger people with hearing impairments yet.
Well, maybe not yet. I think yet is maybe the main word there, because we are here to talk about obviously you as a basketball player, but also to help showcase this awesome team that you're a part of, the Australian Geckos. Before we get to that, though, tell me how basketball came into your life.
Yeah, so I've always been a sporty kid when I was younger. So would have always like playing different sports. Got mum and dad to sign me up to anything that I could play. But netball was probably my main sport in primary, and then I always wanted that's the winter season, and then I wanted to play something in the summer season. So I went and played basketball local comp. And then yeah, so that's kind of how it all started. Like probably when I was in like year two, and then just started playing. And I remember then trialing out for the rep program and making a rep team for basketball. And once you become a part of like a club and people around you, you start to enjoy it a lot and you don't really want to leave it. So I guess that's how basketball came into my life. Yeah.
And you mentioned before the Hills Hornets, which is your local club, and off air you mentioned you've been playing for the Hills Hornets since under 12s. Have you played
Yeah.
from under 12s all the way up to NBL1 for Hills without a break?
Yes, there was one season I went over to Hornsby Spiders in youth league, but then I returned back to Hills after that. So yeah, I've pretty much been there majority of my, um, I guess basketball life. But yeah, so majority of my life I've been there. Yeah.
And I've loved seeing it grow so much, not only physically, like in terms of the actual building, but the club itself seems like it has so many numbers. It seems like it has a great culture, and it seems like the board do a really great job of being able to, I don't know, make everyone feel really welcome there and have a lot of different programs and are able to celebrate their players in lots of different ways.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Everything you said right there is exactly what goes on there. They're a great club and very supportive and welcoming of all people. And yeah, they've got a really good culture. And yeah, it's pretty awesome over there. Yeah, and it's like we've got our senior presentation tonight, and you don't see haven't seen everyone in a while, but it's just one of those things where you're excited to go and see everyone and catch up with everyone and have a good laugh and see what everyone's up to. So yeah, it is really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good to hear that you have such a good club behind you, and it shows like how important having a supportive club is as well. So shout out to the Hills Hornet. So you've obviously been playing basketball for a long time, and obviously at a high level because you are part of the NBL1 squad for Hills Hornets. But tell us how
Yep.
you now got into the Geckos program.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Geckos is unreal. Where do I start? About probably 18 months ago I got contacted. They were getting it up and running again. So the Geckos hasn't been about for the last 15 years, or yeah, the last 15 years. So this is the last 18 months has been the first time in 15 years for it up and running again. And yeah, so about 18 months ago I got reached out to because about 5 years ago they tried to get it up and running then. So they put like a flyer up on Facebook, and my dad saw it. So we went down for the training camp then. But only like 4 of us, or maybe a few more. There wasn't many numbers there though, but it was all those that had heard about it. So that was about 5 years ago, but we just like we had didn't have many people on board and things, so they couldn't keep it going. Sorry, I said 5 years ago, but it'd probably even be 10 years ago. Like when I
Wow.
was about 16, I reckon 16, 15. So 8, 9 years. But yeah, so they tried to get it up and running then, but there was just not like couldn't find the deaf people that could play basketball and stuff. So it just kind of died down again. And then about 18 months ago, it got picked up again, and now Debbie, our head coach, is on board with it. And so that's how it's sort of come about in my life by my dad, actually. So dad, he's got a hearing impairment, and so it's genetic from him. So when he saw that program and saw how how much I love sport and how much I enjoy basketball, he was straight onto it. And me being at 15, 16, you sort of like you're a bit dependent on your parents. So yeah, he did all that work, and pretty grateful for him to find that, because obviously when you're a teenager at that age, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever, like you do it, you don't show any appreciation. But down the track, look what it's done. And yeah, so that is how the Geckos came into my life, I would say. Yeah.
So, Sally, let's get stuck into now talking about the Geckos program as a whole. Can you tell us a little bit more about how players qualify for the Geckos program?
Yeah, definitely. So, to be able to be a part of like the program, so that you can play, like the Deaflympics or different games, you've got to be at least 55 decibels deaf in your better hearing ear. So, on a scale of like hearing levels, it goes 0 to 100, and 0 decibels is like you've got good hearing, you're able to hear everyone around you. So, like yourself, you'd be around the 0 to 10 decibels deaf, and then the more you go down the scale, is more deaf you are. So someone who's profoundly deaf would be about that 100 decibels deaf. For myself, I just almost like kind of qualify. So I am, I just do qualify. I am like 60 decibels deaf in both ears. So I think one's like 57 and one's 60. But because 57 decibels deaf with my better hearing ear, it just meets that requirement of 55 decibels deaf, if that makes sense. So there's probably like 2 of us on the team that are like that. And then going down, yeah, there's a few, we're all kind of like on, obviously beyond the 55 decibels deaf, but we're kind of like spread out on that scale down that end.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's a similar. Well, what comes to mind for me is when we think about the rollers and the gliders, who are our Australian wheelchair teams. They also have to go through a classification system, which some
Yeah.
people may not know about as well. So, and I noticed that earlier in our discussion, you mentioned about people qualifying. So I was really interested to learn a little bit more about how one does qualify for a deaf team.
Yeah, well, we've had some pretty good basketballers come along to a training session, but they're not deaf enough. So like we can't have, like, we would love to have them, but like there's no point having them the whole time, and then they can't come away with us and play. But yeah, I remember like 18 months ago when it all started up again, I needed to find out if I was deaf enough to play. So I called up my local Hearing Australia, and I was like so excited, and I called them and I was like, um, just just ringing it, Sally Faehrmann here. Are you able to check my hearing audiology form, or whatever you call it, and let me know how deaf I am? And they were like, sure. So like looking up my name, and then they're looking at it and they go, oh yeah, your left ear is 57 decibels and then your right ear is 60 decibels. And I'm like, perfect, yes, thank you, all right, thanks, bye, see you later. And I think the guy on the phone was like, what is going on? Why is she excited that she's so deaf? But it was because I knew that I'd be able to play for the team then. So I always laugh about that.
Were you tempted to name drop yourself and were like, look, I need to know because I'm about to play for Australia. So I kind of need to know my decibels so I can play.
Yeah. And if I'm not deaf enough, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty unique experience for some people to be like, oh, I need to know how deaf I am to qualify for something, and then getting excited about it.
Yeah, because I think they would normally get like the other way around, like, you know, if someone's getting better hearing or something, they'd be excited about that, not if they're on the other end. But nah, that was funny. It was a good laugh. Yeah.
And when you and I had spoken earlier in the year, you were very kind enough to give me a few insights over message about some of the communication strategies that you've got to use during training and games. Are you able to share them as well with our broader Front Row Hustle audience?
Yeah, of course. So with our way of communication, because when someone's at 55 decibels deaf to like, I don't know, maybe 60, 70, I don't know the exact numbers, so I won't exactly say, but they obviously wear hearing aids. So we've got a range of people on the team with level of hearing. So we've got people who wear hearing aids, which means that when they take their devices out, they may still be able to hear a little bit. And then we've got people with girls that wear cochlear implants. So that mostly means they're like lower on the decibels end. So they're more deaf and they like pretty much can't hear anything without their cochlear implants in. And then we've also got some profoundly deaf. So they require Auslan as their main form of communication. So in terms of communication at training, if we're all got our devices in, that we're able to hear what the coach is saying, and then those that require an interpreter, we've got our interpreter there at all our training camps and games, etc. So they sign for those that need it. But in saying that, we're all sort of picking up those signs and different things, especially within basketball. So when we take out our hearing devices for a game, we've got to know like what are our team signs, what are our signs for each other. So when we're coming up the court, dribbling the ball up, we've got different names for your plays. So as you call your plays out in a hearing world, you call it out and everyone goes, all right, yep, running pistol or whatever. So everyone knows. But obviously, because we can't hear when we're on the court, so we've got a lot of hand signals and visuals. So for pistol, it's literally like a gun. So whilst I'm dribbling the ball up, or whoever's playing point guard, dribbling the ball, they make sure it's nice and high and everyone's got to look. So as everyone's running down the court to set up for the play, it's like a number one rule. You've got to look behind and check what the point guard's calling, because whoever's playing point guard is making the call and everyone's got to do it. So a lot of visuals for sure are being used. And it's also interesting on defense as well. So if we're running a zone, the sign for zone is this, and we go by the back line. So if you're doing a 2-3 zone, it's zone 3. So then we know, all right, there's 3 people in the back line. It's the 2-3 zone we're running. Or if we're running a 1-3-1 zone, it's zone 1, and we know that's 1-3-1. So there's different like strategies that we've come up with, and it's all like through Auslan and sharing that with each other. So yeah, so that would like come through with training. But another method we have at training is Braith, our assistant coach. He has a whiteboard with him pretty much all the time, and as Deb is talking, or whoever's talking, he will write on the whiteboard and make quick points and turn it around and show everyone so that everyone's on the same page. So that's another form alongside the interpreter. And then during timeouts, we all know now that only one person is allowed to talk. So obviously, usually it's the Deb talking, the coach. So she will just coach as she normally does, speaks as she normally does, and the interpreter will interpret. But she will also make it very keep the points short and sweet rather than going on, so that we can stay on top of what's being said. And then another one is when we're out on the court and we get in a team huddle, like after a foul or a foul shot or whatever, whoever is on the court, only one person is allowed to speak in that huddle. Because if you've got three people trying to say stuff, everyone's going to be on different pages, or even two people, everyone's on different pages, because half have looked at one person, half have looked at the other person. So it's really important that with our communication, when we are trying to communicate something, that everyone is looking at the person that's trying to communicate, and that everyone is focused on that person, and that there aren't any more than one person communicating at one time. So that's been, and all those communication strategies have come through spending time training together, and over the last 18 months. So it hasn't been like straight away, here you go, here's your signs, learn it. Like, it's been a journey for everyone to pick that up and learn how to communicate. What's all right, you hear with your hearing aids in, but when you take them out, you can hear a little bit. So you got to stand next to the coach. So that's another thing. Everyone's sort of like, we've got like a positional, an unspoken positional rule where whenever we do like come in, and the coach speaks, everyone's kind of like positions themselves where they best can pick up what the coach is saying. So for myself, because I can hear without my devices in, I go and stand next to Deb so I can still hear her. Ella does that as well, same as Alicia. And then as the circle goes on, it's kind of like those who rely on Auslan stand opposite the interpreter so that they can see the interpreter. So that's another thing about communication.
That is so cool. Like, thank you for
Yeah.
breaking down all of those points for us, because that is so interesting. So there are so many different levels and ways of communication. So you mentioned the whiteboard, you mentioned obviously someone signing, but learning about the positioning as well of people in your immediate surroundings and close to the one person who's designated to talk, like your coach, and then being that person then being able to communicate with the rest. That is so interesting and so smart, but also sounds like so much thought has to go into it. So you're already trying to prepare as a team in a short period of time for the Deaflympics in November, like on court. So you've already got to think about things like strategy, game plays, what you need to work on, and all that kind of technical basketball stuff. But then it sounds like you have to do a whole other bunch of training just to ensure you've got a smooth communication style as well. That's like incredible.
Yeah. And another one is when like a screen's coming to be set, you can't just yell. Like, you can yell out screen as you normally would playing basketball, but we can't hear on the court. So you've almost got to you stomp your feet as you're going so that they feel the vibration. Oh, someone's banging their foot near me, so there's a screen coming. Or if like you're on helpline defense and someone hasn't rotated enough, you literally just go and push them. Get out the way, go to your next person, because like that's our form of communications. We can't I'm a very loud person on the court as it is, but on the court at the Geckos, we can't hear each other. So we've got to adapt to these other styles, whether that's like physically touching each other to make the move, or yeah, I'm very like, I've got to make sure everyone knows what's going on. So like when we're in a huddle, I'll make sure I've got eye contact with everyone and say, we're doing red as our next play. We're all good. Thumbs up. Show me you're good with that. And everyone's responds really well to it. So it's a massive credit to the whole team as well. Like we've got some young girls on our team who are at school, like 13, 14, 15, 16. Like for them in this environment where like school as a teenager is hard enough as it is, and then coming into this environment where you're not used to it, it's overwhelming. It's a completely different world, like taking out your devices and learning to instantly pick up, all right, if I can't hear, how am I going to communicate? How am I, like, as a person who is hard of hearing, when you are without your devices, like say you're in a swimming pool or something socially, and if you can't hear what's going on, it gets really frustrating because you're missing out on like what's going on around you. So those young ones coming on board with this program, like, yeah, it's a massive credit to everyone in the team. Everyone's done really well to adapt, be resilient, and trust each other. Yeah.
Yeah, trust each other, definitely. Because when I was thinking about your when you were describing what it's like in terms of communication on and off the court, I also didn't realize that you don't play with any devices. So I'm going to show a lot of my ignorance here in this episode, and I'm willing to take responsibility for that. But I was still under the assumption that players who are deaf were still playing with some kind of listening, like hearing device. And so
Yeah.
me learning that you're actually no one has a device, and so obviously making those communication strategies even more important. But I imagine that certainly comes with a level of vulnerability for people having to jump into something brand new with no device, especially if they're
Yeah.
used to living the rest of their life with devices all the time.
Yeah. And it's like that, trying to like describe it. You know, when you get like, you just get frustrated with someone and then you're like, well, what did that person say? What did that person say? It's like, yeah. So, yeah, it is a different sort of like feeling, but you get used to it. But yeah, I often, so those younger girls, yeah, credit to them as well, but credit to everyone in the team, even, everyone.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing so much about what it's like being in the Geckos team or a elite level deaf team as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of like on the court, like because like you said, some members of the Geckos are profoundly deaf. So what happens when like there's a timeout siren or the shot clock goes down or it's quarter time? How do you communicate that with everyone?
Yeah, so the game still goes on as usual. Like the refs have their whistles and the like scoreboard and everything. So like because basketball is such a start-stop sport and like technical as you say, so because we have that team now where everyone plays basketball to some extent, everyone knows that like without our devices in, we all know that like if someone's going in for a layup and it looks like it's a foul, like everyone's just got that instinct to, they look at the ref, and if the ref hasn't like put his hand up or anything, you just keep playing. But it's a lot of like just looking and just visually looking around. All right, the ref, we're still playing, the ref hasn't called anything, their hands aren't up, like still play. There's a lot of teamwork, like mirroring. So this is another thing when we're on the court, whoever's on the five on the court, say the point guard is dribbling the ball up and calls a play, like wave, and this is a sign for wave, and they're dribbling the ball up, call wave. The five that are sitting on the bench, or the bench players and the coaching staff, everyone has to also mirror what the point guard is calling. So they've all got to stand up and do it as well, so that those up the other end on the court can see, like, all right, we're in wave. That's a play that's been called. So that's one thing. Another thing is like when the shot clock is going to expire, everyone just gets up and has to do this. So if you're on the bench, because when you're on the bench in the hearing world for basketball, everyone counts down 10, 9, 8, 7, quick, get a shot off type thing. So for us, everyone has to like make sure they're doing the shot clock sign and so then those that are on the court can see, oh, everyone's doing this. Quick, give me the ball, set me a screen, or we go into our sets for our last 8 seconds type thing.
Wow, so there's so many more things that you have to consider because even thinking about like how often would you actually look to the bench during a game at all? So then making sure that the bench is watching the game the bench needs to be watching the game properly because there's lots of times that players on the bench may just kind of like wander off or have a little chat or something on the side. So they need to be watching properly. And then the players on the court still need to be watching the bench in terms to communicate with the point guard running the show. So there's just so many more layers and complexities with just communication in your team that needs to be considered.
Yeah, and like when we're not wearing your devices, like your brain's working that like a little bit harder type thing because you're not used to that. So it can become a bit exhausting because you're like there's so many extra layers that go into it. But so that's another thing as well. But also like just like learning the different signs in Auslan and picking it up and seeing like some of Shanna and AJ who rely on Auslan and communicating with them. It's just like it's amazing to see that like yes, communication is a barrier, but like you've got to have a relationship with everyone, and you sort of figure it out on how to communicate with each other. And so there's a lot. Yeah, there is a lot that goes into it, but it's like heartwarming and like amazing how it all works and come together. Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds amazing. Like I definitely would love to see that in real time to see how all of that plays out. That sounds incredible. And what about like, do you do some team bonding off the court as well, like to build rapport with each other as a team, and then sometimes maybe that can foster some more communication as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like going like along with our training camps, we try to go out for dinner, things like that. But like so at the moment we're training once a month in Melbourne over weekends training camps. So we've had one every month in the past year in the lead up to Japan. And then October we'll have two. But because the weekends are so jam packed, like we've got so much to get through, like with a normal season, like NBL One or Youth League or whatever, you're training twice a week and you're seeing each other regularly. Like everything's fresh in your mind. You just keep going, you get through the motions or whatever. But for us, it's like bang, straight in Saturday, train all day Saturday, then train all day Sunday. Like it's they're big weekends. They can like be quite exhausting. So on top of that, yeah, we do try and have team bonding, but we'll also do like some team bonding activities. So our team manager, Shirley, she's profoundly deaf and she's like an amazing person. She has like she's ran some different like Auslan games for us as well to pick it up. And so the team bonding definitely helps in building those communication skills with each other.
And you mentioned Japan. The Geckos are getting ready to go and compete at the 2025 Summer Deaflympics in Tokyo. Official dates for the tournament is from the 15th of November to the 26th of November. It sounds like preparations are going pretty well so far. But yeah, is there anything else you can tell us about the preparations leading up to the Deaflympics?
Yeah, so like I said before, monthly training camps over the weekends. And they like the amount of work that goes into it is incredible. We're so lucky to have this coaching staff that we do. So Debbie Coulson's our head coach, and then our two assistant coaches are Braithen Kerr and Tracy Whiteman. And the experience they have behind them, like state Victoria basketball state coaching, NBL1 coaching, rep program coaching, like such high levels, and even Trace at the moment is with the WNBL UC Caps, their assistant coach, and she's on board with us as well. So we're extremely lucky for who we've got, and they have made the program what it is today. Like their basketball knowledge and putting their time into us and doing that, and they're volunteers for the program as well. And then we've got our team osteo or team physio, which is Marnie Nadine. And then our two interpreters, Mel and Maddie, and they're incredible as well. So, like, preparations, there's so much so the preparations, our monthly training camps, there's so much that goes into it that I think even myself, I forget what goes into it. Like, you rock up there and the training program set out for the 2 days. We've got our physio there when she's available, she's there. We've got the interpreters, and they, like, you kind of forget everything that goes into it. But yeah, so preparation has been going really well. I think we feel like we're ahead of where we could have been. Like, I think Deb is like really, really impressed with where we are as a team. Like, she was like, I didn't think I'd be able to teach you guys this as a team, but we've gone so far that we've completed what we needed to. We're going to keep adding stuff in, and like, yeah, so preparation's been good. And another person we've got on board with us is Durham. So Durham's our strength and conditioning coach, and he owns Core Advantage in Melbourne, the training facility. And he's been incredible as well. Set us all gym programs and how to stay fit in our off, like, it's all our NBL1 and youth league off season. So how do we stay fit and ready to go game ready for the Deaflympics when we're all from different parts of Australia and can't train together and only have the chance monthly to train together? How can we make sure we're staying on top of our fitness and all that as well? So there's so much that goes into it, and so many people that have helped get it to where we are. But I think the thing that's going to hurt us in the future is the sustainability of the program. And so everything right now is self-funded. So for us three that fly to get to Melbourne for each training camp, myself, Sienna from Sydney, and Ella from Perth, for us to fly, we have to pay for our own flights. And then what we do as a team is the manager, Shirley, she works out the calculations of those flights. We get reimbursed, but everyone pays a camp fee, which covers that reimbursement. So the camp fees could be usually around $100, $150 each camp. So, like, over the year, that sort of builds up, and you've got your young players again, or we've got some players who are at uni, and like, for someone who's at uni not working much, like, that's a lot of money to them to constantly pay that as well. But then our trip over is all self-funded in Japan, so that's all been self-funded, and that was looking at about $110,000 for the whole team, so about $10,000 per player. But we've managed to secure funds and different, I guess, sponsors, which we're extremely grateful for and very lucky to have. But moving forward, so they've all just been like different charities and different people who've heard what we're doing, and they've gone, oh, okay, I'll donate a little bit of money, or I'll donate even something as small as $20, and it's helped us reach our target or close to reaching our target. But yeah, so that's been a bit of a challenge in terms of our preparation in getting over to Japan, but that adversity has been good for the team to build a bit of resilience. But I think what we're trying to do now is build a relationship with Basketball Australia. So we haven't had much to do, like, we've knocked on their door left, right, and centre. Like, we had Sandy Bondello come to one of our camps, and she took it back to them. And we heard nothing from Basketball Australia. So it's been hard to build a relationship with them in terms of us in our program. Like Debbie's a state coach for Victoria. She knows people from Basketball Australia. She's like reached all her contacts, and it's just not getting. It's just not. We're just not getting anything back from them in terms of like communication. So, and it's not like, all right, we need X amount of money to get us to Japan. It's something as simple as them posting like maybe once a month on Instagram, or once even, saying to be like, they have posted a little bit about us, but saying like, if you're hard of hearing or you're deaf or you're 55 decibels deaf in your better ear, reach out to the Geckos or the Goannas, which is the men's team, and like go play basketball with them and represent your country. And then that way we're finding our unique people, those who are hard of hearing, those who are deaf, and can play basketball. And then we're building that elite program. So yeah, I think that's something that's like our next step. Like, we've achieved all these little steps, and now our next step is just having that relationship with Basketball Australia be built. So that's another, I guess, something, but that's all part of something starting up, and we've come so far in the past 18 months. We've ticked off so many little things. So yeah, but even like our uniforms and stuff, we're paying for our uniforms. There's a lot that goes into it. Uniforms. Yeah. Then we've also, like, each training camp that we have, we've got to find our own facilities for training camps. So we're currently been training a lot at Emerson School in Dandenong. So shout out to them for looking after us. But even trying to find basketball facilities. If they have something on, we need to go find our own facility that we can train at. So lucky Deb has a lot of contacts to stadiums or schools and things, so she's managed to get us to those facilities. But it's all that extra stuff that goes into it on top of, like, for her, she's already trying to manage that our coach. What are we going to run on our on our offense and defense? So someone who coaches NBL 1 or youth league or a rep program, they're not having to find their own basketball facilities every time they train. So yeah, it's all that extra stuff that goes into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like you said before, everyone's a volunteer. Everyone has to pay their own way. And it's really disappointing to hear that our governing body isn't supporting one of the Australian national teams going to a major event like the Deaflympics in any kind of way. So that's not very. It's not really showing a lot of equity or equality across all of the national teams, which is really disappointing to hear. And this is also on top of everyone working full time as well. So, like yourself, you work full time. You've got other geckos, like you said, that are also in school. So there's all this kind of stuff that requires not just the financial backing, but the administrative and organizational backing to help support the geckos. Just at least to have some training programs and training camps and facilities, let alone going to the Deaflympics.
Yeah, well, like, speaking with Deb, like, not long ago, like, something as small as, like, it's such a big thing. And like I spoke before, those, like, some of us taking out our hearing devices, it's another big thing, and it's overwhelming, especially for those younger players. So the mental aspect comes into it as well. So having access to Basketball Australia is another simple thing. Their resources they have online about well-being and what to do if you feel a bit overwhelmed, and all it is like, here's a password, and you can get access to it. Like, it's little things like that would help massively and have a massive improvement. And it's not like we're not asking to have the whole program funded, but just start to, have those little things that we can get access to and help. Because again, like, we'll go to the Deaflympics in November. But then it's been an exhausting year. Like you said, everyone's working full time and exhausting but great year. Like everyone, we all love it. We love seeing each other monthly and it's awesome. But having a fundraise on top of it as well, that's exhausting. So I think the sustainability of the program is a bit worrying. In terms of like we've come so far in the past year, but it's a bit worrying in terms of like what's going to happen in the future if we can't get funds for our program, if we can't get access to different resources, to different facilities. That's what's going to start to break people, and people will just throw the towel and go in, it's not worth it type thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really disappointing if it came to that, considering all the hard work that's gone into getting the Geckos up and running again after, I think, like you said, a 15 plus year hiatus
Yeah.
of the program. So it's a lot has gone in of, a lot of time and resources and love and hard work's gone into getting the Geckos back up and running and ready for the Deaflympics. So it'd be really disappointing if it wasn't followed through. And I mean, BA, at least just repost a story. Like,
Yeah.
just something
Well, they
small like that.
reposted our one last week where we trained at. So we were lucky last weekend to train at Hoop City courtside in Port Melbourne. So I think it's Josh Giddy and Dash Daniels own it, and they were actually training there, like in the gym and different things, whilst we were having our training camp. So we got like cool photo with them and everything, and so it's funny. So then Basketball Australia reshared that reel. So even like that, like perfect. Keep going, keep sharing all our things. Like, yeah, just those little things, and it means the world to us. Like, because we know that there's people out there that are play basketball and hard of hearing, and it might even just be they just need that little bit of extra encouragement from Basketball Australia to say, go do it. It's the best thing you ever do.
Yeah, or at
Yeah.
least to know that it's actually an option. Because how many people out there that follow basketball in some way actually know that the Geckos and the Goannas is a legitimate pathway for young people that live with deafness or issues with hearing?
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, right? Like, yeah. So, yeah.
It sounds like a struggle, but it still sounds like for a good cause, and you've got a lot to look forward to in November. Did
Yeah.
Giddy and Daniels get to give you any words of wisdom, or did they suit up during a training session down in Melbourne?
No, they were good. They wished us good luck and all that type of stuff. We also had Chris Golding there. Um yeah, so they all gave us a good luck and few words. So yeah, that was nice. Yeah, it was cool. Some home blood, home city, and which was cool.
And yeah, you have been hustling with the fundraising. One fundraising option you have available is a GoFundMe page. And on the day that we're recording today, you have reached 67% of your 25K target. But I think you've done some other events as well to help fundraise. Tell us a little bit about that.
So some fundraising events that we've had earlier in the year. We some of the parents on the team are incredible and like have put together some amazing things. But one of the things that they did was organize a fundraiser ball earlier in the year, or fundraiser event, and we managed to get some special guests there. So, which was that was like here we are like raising money, and then we're there like, oh my gosh, all these people are here. But we had Megan Huswaite. She came along and emceed our event, and then we were lucky to have Michelle Timms, Alice Kunek, and Alison Tranquilli come along and be special guests for like a panel for the event. And like, that's just for them to do that for us just means means the world to us. And they, so they offered up their night Saturday night to come along and be part of it, and they were just so lovely and interested in what we were doing and things like that. So for us to like hear that from them, it reminds us that we're playing for our country, we're playing for Australia. So yeah, it was really awesome to have them along. So that was one of our fundraising events that we had, and we raised, I can't remember how much money we raised from that, but a fair bit of money for that. And there was a lot of like silent auctions and things like that being held. So a lot of people donated different products for the silent auction. And so that's been a fundraising event we've done. But again, so much work went into organizing that. Like how often can we do that type thing? But another thing, all our practice games have been on the door. You pay $5-10 entry fee to come watch us play, and that, like, each game we might get $200-300 from those games, but it adds up. So we've had 7 of those games now, so all that money adds up for our fundraising. So that's been another form of fundraising. And then just a lot of like reaching out to people and businesses and saying, would you like to sponsor us? This is what we're doing. This is what we're about. If you would like to sponsor us, reach out to us, like that type of stuff. Yeah, so that's what it's been. A lot of our fundraising events have been a couple of sausage sizzles, yeah, things like that.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Got to respect the hustle for all of the fundraising that you're doing in multiple different ways. But that panel that you held in Melbourne sounded like world-class panel. So well done for
Oh,
pulling that off.
I know, and that goes some of the contacts on the team. Yeah, it was incredible. It was, yeah, they were all so lovely. Megan, she's lovely. And then Michelle, Alice, and Alison Tranquilly, all of them, they were just absolute legends. And the way that they, like, even the way that they held themselves, like, it, like, this also gives us people to look up to as well and go, wow, like, um, they've all represented Australia, and that's what we're about to do again soon or one day. And like, it's just the way that they talk about, when you represent your country, like, it's just an absolute honor. And when you hear that, it makes you like go, "Ooh," like gives you the shivers, because like that's what we're about to do. And yeah, so when you hear that from others that have represented the country and what it feels like, yeah, it's pretty incredible. So very grateful for them for coming up and offering their time. But and then we've had Alison Tranquilly come to a few of our, like, she's come back and popped her head in and said hello. So yeah, very lucky.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, really good. I'm glad that someone's sorting that out for you and that you're getting some star treatment from some former Australian players themselves. Uh, and just to finish off, we'll talk a bit about the Deaflympics that is coming up in November, as we mentioned. Tell us quickly about how the Geckos qualified for the Deaflympics. Is it a similar format to the Opals qualifying for the Olympics or say for the World Cup?
Yeah. It is a similar sort of type qualification. So last year we had the Asia Pacific tournament, which was held in Melbourne, and that was for the Asian countries that were qualifying. Oh, sorry, the Asia region countries qualifying who wanted to qualify for the Deaflympics this year. So we had in women's comp, we just had ourselves, Australia, Japan, and Chinese Taipei. And then the men's had about eight countries. So it was just us 3 for the women's, and for us to be able to qualify for the Olympics, we just needed to finish top 2 out of the 3 teams. So we played Japan in our first game, and keep in mind, first time in 15 years the Geckos are back up and running. We lost to Japan by 100 in that first game, or it might have been 50, but then we lost to them by about 50. And then we're like, I think all of us were like, oh no, I don't know how we're going to go for qualifying now. So we're all a bit stressed. And then we play against Chinese Taipei. We beat them by 50. So we're like, oh, we might be all right now. So we got to play Japan and Chinese Taipei again. In our second game to Japan, we lost to them by about 100 in that second game, because our some of our basketballers started to get injured and went down. So we lost to Japan by 100. And so then we again like, oh no, how our chances looking? And then we versed Chinese Taipei again, and then we beat them by a reasonable amount again. So that was like the round games, and then we versed. It just went straight into a gold medal match. We versed Japan, obviously, and I think we all just went in the mindset like, let's just leave anything we can on the court. We have absolutely nothing to lose. We've qualified. We've made that gold medal match. We've qualified for the Deaflympics. Let's just give it our best shot. We ended up only losing to Japan by about 18 in that gold medal match. It was neck and neck the whole way. Everyone just brought something out in them that they didn't know they had. And yeah, so then that second game against Chinese Taipei, that was like we needed to win that to our ticket to Japan. And when we won that, everyone was stoked. And then we were like, all right, let's just see how we go in the gold medal match. And we did really well. So the pools have already, so sorry, I'm going a bit off track, but that's how the qualifications, there's about, from the top of my head, there is 11 teams, 11 countries in the women's Deaflympics for basketball, and the men's have 12. So the max is 12 teams from the top of my head. It's either, I think it's 12. And then each region within the world like qualifies a certain amount. So Europe were able to send 4 countries. So they had their European championships, maybe like they might have had theirs last year, to send their 4 teams through and so forth. So that's like how the qualifications work. And yeah, so they do like a pull the countries out of like a bowl type thing to do the pool, put together pools and whatnot for the Deaflympics. And we've been the seeding of the top 4 teams. So the top 4 teams from the World Championships 2 years ago were America or USA, Ukraine, Greece, and Italy. And they finished, I think, in that order at the World Championships 2 years ago. So they were the ones that ended up in that higher pool for seeding. But we've ended up with Italy in our pool. So that Italy finished 4th at that World Championships. So we're hoping that's like, we'll see how we go. But yeah, we've got them, Lithuania and Kenya in our pool for the Deaflympics. So we'll play each of them, and then hopefully we get good results and then can progress through to finals and things. So yeah, I think I've gone a bit off track there, but that's sort of how the qualifications work a bit.
No, that was great. That was perfect. Thank you. I honestly appreciate the detail. I'm personally a detail-orientated person, and I love to learn all of the new information and finer details of these things. So your answer was very much appreciated. And I can tell that that you play Kenya first on the 16th of November.
Yep.
And then you go on to play Lithuania the next day on the 17th, and then you play Italy on the 18th, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah.
The website's a bit tricky. Like, it doesn't technically have here's the women's page and here's a men's page. It's got everything listed, and then it's just either side is ticked men's or women's, men's or women's. But your opening matches against Kenya, so that I think will be a really interesting one. Are we able to watch the Deaflympics online at all? Do you know?
Yeah, there'll be a link for the whole Deaflympics, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, you will definitely be able to. I think they're going to do it via like a YouTube live link, like for the whole Deaflympics. So once that comes out and gets sent through, I'll send it through to you, and you'll be able to watch and see how we go.
I'll definitely be keen to watch the Deaflympics online, Sally, and we'll be encouraging all of the front row hustlers, that's what I'm going to call them, to be watching as well. So we'll definitely keep an eye for a link. But anyway, Sally, thank you so much for your time today, and especially thank you so much for putting us in the shoes of the Australian Geckos team, especially as you are preparing for the 2025 Summer Deaflympics held in Tokyo in November. truly respect the hustle of you as the captain and the whole Geckos program, and we all wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Jacinta, for having me on and being a form of awareness for us. So really appreciate it and appreciate you giving me this opportunity. So thank you.
No worries. Fingers crossed it will help.
This is thank you in sign language.
Oh, thank you. Of course. Of course. Thank you.